Okay, I saw some movies and I'm happy to say that all the ones I'm going to talk about in this video are spoilers really good. So going in the order in which I saw them, let's start with Judas and the Black Messiah. This film was directed and co-written by Shaka King and tells the story of how Fred Hampton, the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, was double-crossed by FBI informant William O'Neill in the late 1960s. This is the movie that you hope for when you get a cast together like this. We've got Lakeith Stanfield, Daniel Kaluuya, Dominique Fishback, and Jesse Plemons all giving top-notch performances. The standout, of course, being Daniel Kaluuya as Fred Hampton. Daniel Kaluuya has not only more than proven himself to be an outstanding actor, but a master of accents. He really becomes this guy, and it never felt to me like he was doing an impression, which can happen when you're playing a real person. The editing is incredibly tight, it has a great soundtrack, and it has this momentum that makes its 2-hour runtime not quite feel like a 2-hour runtime. Even though this is a very dialogue and speech-heavy film, it doesn't ever feel bogged down by exposition. It never feels like the movie comes to a screeching halt so that we can get an FBI exposition scene. And when things do need to be explained, we always come out of the scene knowing a little bit more about the characters. This film's goal is to flesh out who these men were, and why what happened here is so unacceptable. I know you guys have been watching a lot of serial killer documentaries, but the FBI are not the heroes of this story. Quite the opposite. Am I allowed to say that? Saint Maud was written and directed by Rose Glass and is about a young hospice nurse who feels it is her duty to save the souls of those she cares for. She develops an obsession with her current patient, Amanda, and is determined to save her soul before she dies of cancer. I have been waiting to see this movie since 2019, and I'm happy to say that it was worth the wait. This was a very well-executed little film. It's a unique take on the religious zealot character study because we don't often see the born-again Catholic in this context. Devout Catholics in film and horror especially are usually portrayed as members of the clergy and/or are performing some sort of exorcism somewhere. Typically, Catholics are portrayed as working within the church system in some way, but Maud is the rare rogue Catholic, which I found very interesting. Morfydd Clark does a really great job with every aspect of Maud. She embodies this character so fully, and everything about her down to the way that she carries herself feels very believable. I'm sure it would be tempting to many actors to go bigger with this role than was necessary because the religious zealot is usually played a certain way, but this character is approached with such restraint, and there are times where she has to go big, but they save it. She's quite restrained and low-key for a lot of the film, which works really well because when things start to escalate, it feels a lot more impactful. Plus, this is much more a film about isolation and loneliness than it is about religion. I really enjoyed the overall atmosphere. I feel like in modern horror, I see a lot of cool tones, but Saint Maud has a very warm color palette. And that works really well because this is a film about someone who is chasing sainthood, who believes that God is always with them and working through them, and the atmosphere plays an important role in conveying that. The lighting they use is very warm, so there's always this rich glow either behind Maud or reflecting off of her face, and it's all very clever. Really impressive first feature-length film by Rose Glass. I mean, so sure-handed, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing more from her. I can't wait. And I really can't say much more about Saint Maud without spoiling it, so you're just gonna have to see it for yourself. And last but not least, we have Minari. Minari was written and directed by Lee Isaac Chung and is about a Korean-American family who settle in rural Arkansas in the 1980s. Similarly to Alfonso Cuarón's Roma from a few years ago, the story is heavily based on Chung's own childhood. This is a film that does everything right. I mean, directing, writing, acting, editing, everything works, and I sincerely do not have a single nitpick. This movie is goddamn perfect. While a big part of me is happy that it got a Golden Globe for Best Foreign Language Film, I also don't like that it was locked into only being able to be nominated for Best Foreign Language Film since it's an American movie. Really think it could have gotten Best Drama had it been allowed to compete. Hey, Golden Globes, fix that. One of the many things that I really enjoyed about this film is the way that it picks its battles. There is no scene that goes on a second longer than it needs to. It makes the pacing feel very smooth, and when the film decides to draw out a certain moment or conflict, it feels a lot more meaningful. Minari manages to have these very free-flowing snapshots of everyday life, while maintaining a narrative structure that has all of the full circle setup and payoff that you would want from a story. I do like that even though the film is autobiographical, the story isn't entirely seen seen through the eyes of the character that represents the filmmaker, which in this case would be the character of the little boy David. We spend a good amount of time with all of the other characters, especially both of the parents, and it paints a very complete picture of the struggle this family is going through. David's mother, Monica, isn't reduced to the nagging wife trope that I see in so many films, nor is his father, Jacob, reduced to the selfish husband and father who needs to learn the meaning of family. Both individuals in this marriage are treated as whole people who are motivated by trying to pursue what's best for themselves and their children. I think that's why so many people are connecting with this film. You don't always have to have a villain or someone who's so severely at fault for something. The struggles of life are conflict enough. We have a father who's learning how to be a farmer through trial and error and how to run his own business. We have a mother who wants what's best for her children but also is terribly homesick. And a little boy who's really struggling to accept his grandmother for who she is. And not that there's anything inherently wrong with films telling stories about people in the entertainment business or in industries that seem kind of glamorous. It's just done so often that a story about a family who's in a position financially that most Americans are actually in feels really refreshing. It's actually relatable. I already told you guys that Steven Yeun gave one of the best performances of 2018 and nobody cared, and it's happening again, and I just want him to get something. He's so good. What does he have to do? What does he have to do? He's been perfect for so long. Can you guys please do me a favor and watch this and then watch Burning? I'm begging you. The video's over now.